Hi dear student, I welcome back to you in the second part of this video of the chapter The Rat Trap. So in previous part we had studied how the peddler was surviving himself by selling rat trap, and of course he was indulged in a small thievery as well. Nevertheless, both the works were not sufficient for him and were not able to impart him that much money which was needed for keeping his body and soul together. Fine. So after that, one day, when he was walking, in quite disappointingly, he knocked at the gate, and then, uh, a farmer was there. He had given him shelter, and of course, he treated him very well. This was unexpected experience for the paddler, because before that he had always been given welcome by sour faces or like unwelcoming faces. So here he was given food, he was given shelter to stay, and of course the treatment was very fine. But quite in fact paradoxically, the next morning the paddler in fact deceived him, cheated on him by stealing 30 kroner, which the farmer had earned, through his bossy cow. So, in fact, what happened? This rat trap peddler stole that money and ran away from there. So, in this way, this was the biggest ingratitude he showed toward the man who had, in fact, assisted him so much. So, this much we had studied in next video, in previous video. Now, let's go ahead. So, see, as he walked along with the money in his pocket, he felt quite pleased with his smartness. He thought how smartly, without letting anyone know, he stole 30 kroners. He realized, of course, that at first he dared not continue on the public highway. He had, you can say that, blending of fear in his heart. He was joyous, but at the same time he was somewhat timid as well for being handcuffed by the police. He thought walking on highway might invite any trouble, might invite police on his way. He might be handcuffed, so that is why he decided to go off the road. So what happened? But must turn off the road into the woods, into the jungle. During the first hours, this caused him no difficulty. He kept on walking. He did not find any botheration, difficulty. Later in the day, it became worse. How? For it was a big and confusing forest which he had gotten into. How it was confusing? Let's study further. He tried to be sure to walk in a definite direction. Alright, he kept on walking in a straight line. He made it sure that he must walk in a straight line, but the path twisted back and forth. Back and forth means to and fro. So strangely, he walked and walked without coming to the end of the wood. And finally, he realized that he had only been walking around in the same part of the forest. So, see, in this way, the jungle was confusing. The path was so strangely circled, he in fact made it show that he must walk in a straight direction to go across the jungle. But the path was so strangely twisted, whenever he walked, on that path, he found himself back to his previous position. He reached from where he had started. So in this way, he kept on walking, and then eventually what happened? He got dog tired, so badly tired, tired to die. So see, tired to death. So he realized that he had only been walking around the same part of the forest. All at once he recalled his thoughts about the world and the rat trap, and immediately what happened? He remembered his own metaphoric comparison of world being rat trap, and he had realized the same he had allowed to take place with him as well. He allowed himself to be caught in a rat trap. That jungle was actually a rat trap, and what worked as a bait for him? Student, can you let me know what worked as a bait for him? Think. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, you're very right. That was 30 kroners. Yes, so 30 kroners acted as bait for him, and now he was caught in a rat trap. That jungle had become a rat trap for him, and he was trapped inside. So, see, be befooled by a bait of 30 kroner, and had been caught the whole forest with its trunks and branches, its thickest and fallen logs closed in upon him. They closed, upon him as impenetrable. Impenetrable means which cannot be gone through. Alright, so he was not able to go through that jungle prison from which he could never escape. He realized that he would die there, he would not be able to go through that jungle would become his graveyard. Let's see. So it was late in December. Darkness was already descending, coming down over the forest. This increased the danger and increased also the gloom and despair. Alright, is gloom, sadness, and despair, disappointment. Finally, he saw no way out. He tried his best to go across the jungle, but he failed. He faltered, and he sat down on the ground, tired to death. He was dog tired, thinking that his last moment had come. But just as he laid his head on the ground, he heard a sound, a hard, regular thumping. Thumping means heavy beating sound. There was no doubt as to what that was. He couldn't comprehend what the sound was all about. But he realized himself. He raised himself, he stood himself. Those are the hammer strokes from an iron mill. But he concluded the sound was coming from any iron mill of hammers. He thought there must be people nearby, and of course, that fancy was a ray of hope, the very last ray of hope for his survival. He realized that he must muster his courage, for making the very last effort, very last, for try for his survival. He summoned, he collected all his strength, got up and staggered. Staggered means limped, walked with difficulty in the direction of the sound. The Ramjo iron mill, which are now closed down. So students, mean now this mill is not working. Alright, this factory is not working, but at that time, the time which has been exhibited in the story, at that time it was in action, were now so long ago a large plant. In those days, this factory used to be a large plant with a smelter, rolling mill, and forge. Alright, so these are the part of factory. A smelter where iron is melted, rolling mill where melted iron is rolled, and forge means the place where blacksmith works. Alright, forge. In the summertime, long lines of heavily loaded barges and scows. Scows are deep bottom boats which are used for loading and unloading goods. Fine, so those boats slid down the canal. So in fact, raw material was brought, through these boats in that canal, which led to a large inlet lake, and which in fact went ahead to an inland lake. And in winter time, the road near the mill were black from all the coal dust which shifted down from the big charcoal crate. But in winter, this coal was brought to road. Why? Perhaps in winter the lake got frozen. This was the reason. Pig iron, raw iron was brought, by a road, and that is why the coal dust sifted through the crates where in fact the coal was placed, and it darkened, it blackened all the roads. During one of the long dark evenings just before Christmas, the master smith and his helpers sat in the dark forge. They sat in the dark forge, and that's what is forge, the workshop of blacksmith, near the furnace waiting for the pig iron, raw iron, which had been put in the fire. So that iron was being boiled to be ready to put on the anvil. Anvil is a blocks, all right, where blocks are there, and iron, the raw iron, the melted iron is given different shape in anvil. Fine. Every now and then, again and again, one of them got up the stir. To stir means to shake the glowing mass, the shining mass with a long iron bar. Very long iron rod was there. So with that, someone got up to shake that mass of melting iron, returning in few moments, dripping with perspiration. Perspiration means sweat. Though, as was the custom, he wore nothing but a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. Alright, so man in fact did not wear anything. A long shirt was there and wooden of shoes. Very strange dressing sense is there. All the time there were many sounds to be heard in the forge. So many sounds were there. Which sound were there? The big bellows groaned. Bellows, they are the devices which are used to ooze the air for kindling the fire. Like you must have seen in villages, women are there, they use hollow pipes to kindle the fire. So likewise, any instrument which is used to blow the fire, to kindle the fire, is called bellows. So they were there, groaned, they were shouting, and the burning coal cracked. Then coal was burning, it was cracking. The fire boy shoveled charcoal. Shovel is a tool also. Alright, so he was throwing what? He was throwing charcoal means coal into the means mouth of the furnace with a great deal of clatter. And then it created clatter sound when the coal was thrown into the mouth of that furnace. Outside roared the waterfall. Then waterfall sound was there, and sharp north wind whipped, collided the rain against the brick tiled roof. So rain was also there, and pacey air was there. So many sounds were there. In nutshell, we can say it was kind of ambience which was full of humdrum, full of so many noises. So on account of these noises, it was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that a man had opened the gate and entered the forge. So since so many sounds were there, perhaps because of so many sound, the head blacksmith could not notice that someone had entered until he stood close to the furnace. So that man came close to the furnace. Surely it was nothing unusual for poor vagabond without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of night which escaped through the sooty pane. So it was not unusual happening. This had happened so many times before, because quite oftenly during wintry nights the stranger, vagabond, paddler got attracted toward the light, that light which came through sooty pane. Sooty means darkened with soot. What is soot? The particles of coal. Alright, so they became a pane means glass of window is called pane. So the dark glass of window allowed light to go through, and that gleaming light attracted the vagabond, the peddler, to be there to spend their nights in the shelter of that place. And of course, they got fire to warm up themselves. So this was the reason they in fact got attracted, tempted toward the place quite oftenly, and to come in to warm themselves in front of, and they always came to warm themselves in front of the fire. So this was a regular feature. The blacksmith glanced only casually and indifferently at the intruder. Alright, so he did not show any mercy or took at his surprise. He got amazed finding a stranger. He only gave a casual, a kind of look full of laxity and indifferently, and it was a neutral reaction because it was quite often thing. So he gave a very neutral reaction, at the intruder. A person who enters without taking permission is called intruder. He looked the way people of his tribe usually did. Like, he was, of course, a messy, filthy, dirty person, did not have anything sophisticated in him. With a long beard, he had long beard, dirty, ragged means torn clothes, worn out clothes, and with a bunch of rat trap dangling means hanging on his chest. Alright. He asked permission to stay, and the master blacksmith nodded a hearty consent. Alright, he gave consent, permission with haughtiness. Haughtiness means arrogance. There was arrogance, a kind of proud in that. He did not show any sort of sympathy, generosity, towards him. He permitted him, but yes, haughtiness was there, proud was there, without honoring him with a single word. He even did not speak a single word, saying, of course, yes, no problem, sit down, you can have pleasurable time here. He did not speak. He only nodded, with haughtiness. The tramp did not say anything, nor tramp spoke something, because he had not come here to have a discourse with him. He had come there to spend night, to linger there, for the night. So he did not speak anything. He had not come there to talk, but only to warm himself in sleep. In those days, the Ramjo iron mill was owned by a very prominent, a very famous iron master, whose greatest ambition was to ship out, means to export good iron to the market. So this owner of iron master was a very sincere person, honest person. His ambition was to export the best quality of iron in the market. Hence, he watched both night, day, to see that the work was done as well as possible. So that is why he inspected his factory both the time to make it sure that the best quality of iron must be produced there. And at the same moment, he came into the forge on one of his nightly rounds of inspection. At that time, he came, for his nightly round of inspection. Naturally, the first thing he saw was the tall ragamuffin. Ragamuffin means vagabond, or like a street urchin. A person who wanders from place to place is called vagabond, who had eased his way so close to the furnace that steam rose from his wet clothes. So he was wet, and now he was in the vicinity of fire, proximity of fire. So that is why steam was rising from his wet clothes. The iron master did not follow the example of blacksmith, what blacksmith had done. He had not even, looked him properly. But the iron master did not do what he did. Who had hardly deigned, means concerned to look at the stranger. Fine, he walked close to him, looked him over very carefully, then tore off his slouch hat to get a better view. He removed his slouch hat, a kind of hat, and he looked at him and he recognized, and what he said, but of course it's you, Niels Ohl. He said, how you do look? He said, oh my God, it's you, Niels Ohl. How do you look? The man with the rat trap had never before seen the iron master as Ramjo and did not even know what his name was. But, for that rat trap seller, he had never seen the owner, and nor in fact he knew his name as well. But it occurred to him that if the fine gentleman thought he was an old acquaintance, he might perhaps throw him a couple of kroners. Once again, what is this called? Enticement, greed. What is this called? Temptation. So once again, he was tempted, by 2 kroner. He thought, on account of this case of mistaken identity here, it was a case of mistaken identity, he might earn 2 kroner, on the wings of benevolence of the iron master. Iron master, on account of his benevolence, finding his old acquainted person in such filthy condition, might donate him 2 kroner more. He, did not disclose his real identity. that he was not Niels Bohr, he was somebody else. Therefore, he did not want to undeceive him. See, Iron Master was getting deceived by mistaken identity. So the paddler decided to let the same thing happen. Him all at once. Yes, God knows things have gone downhill with me. He said, yes, God knows how I have undergone a great downfall. Lord, God knows how I have undergone a great downfall. He said, you should not have resigned from the regiment, said the Iron Master. So it means the acquainted person, the known person of Iron Master had resigned from the army. He had been working army, he had resigned from there. So he suggested the same to the paddler, taking him as his known person. That was the mistake. If only I had still been in the service at that time. If I had been there, it had been working there, it never would have happened. I would not have allowed it to happen. Well, now of course you will come home with me. Alright, to go along up to the manor house and be received by the owner like an old regimental comrade, like a friend of regiment, army. That however did not please the tramp. He thought, no, it is not suitable. It is intentionally throwing himself to dense cave. No, I couldn't think of it, he said, looking quite alarmed, quite alert, quite vigilant. He said he thought of the 30 kuna. He knew he was a thief at that moment. And so far, even police must have come to know. So to be, at the home of such prominent person might invite a trouble for himself. So that was the reason he thought, no, it was not a safe choice. To got up to the manor house, to go up to the manor house would be like throwing himself voluntarily, intentionally into Lawrence den cave. He only wanted a chance to sleep here in the forge, means the workshop of head blacksmith, and then sneak away. Sneak away means to move secretly, as inconspicuously, means without being perceived, without being seen as possible. That was intention. He wanted to move from there, without being seen by anyone. The Iron Master assumed that he felt embarrassed because of his miserable clothing. He thought, since paddler was wearing bad clothes, so that is why he was hesitating. He was shying. So he said, please don't think that I have such a fine home that you cannot show yourself there. He said, Elizabeth is dead. Who is Elizabeth? His wife. As you may already have heard, my boys are abroad. They are in foreign country, and there is no one at home except my oldest daughter and myself. We two are there, my daughter and me. We were just saying that it was too bad we did not have any company for Christmas, and that what was the subject of a discourse. We were talking that, see how unpleasantly our Christmas has been passing. No guest is there, no one with whom we can share the joy of Christmas. Now come along with me and help us make the Christmas food disappear a little faster. He said, come and please help us in disappearing. Disappear does not mean that paddler will chant any hymns, will play any magical technique in finishing, in eating Christmas food speedily. But the stranger said no and no and again no, and Iron Master saw that he must give in. He must give up his obstinacy. Alright, it looks as though Captain Von Stelle, student, remember this is the real name of Iron Master's acquainted person. Nickname was Niels Bohr, but this is the real name, and this name is very useful for us till the end. Prefer to stay with you tonight, Sturgis Strong. Alright, this is the name of blacksmith. Quite difficult to pronounce. Sturgis Strong. Alright, he said to the master blacksmith and turned on his heel. He took a U-turn, but he laughed to himself as he went. When he went out, he laughed, and the blacksmith, who knew him, understood very well that he had not said his last word. He would certainly do something else. He was not finished. So in this video only this much. The remaining part would be covered in next video. Thank you so much for listening and watching this video. You are great and so am I.